My friends, hello, how are you? How was your week? I hope you had an amazing one. And if you didn't, maybe you just reflect a little bit today as to why. Like, what happened? Not in judgment, but just what would have made it better? Did you not finish your tasks? Were people being, well, people? Did people let you down? Did you let you down? We're finishing up the Live Lighter series today on the last clutter that I want to share with you, and that is behavioral clutter. I'm going to bring some tough love to you today, and I hope it is received with the love and the care and the passion that I have for you. If I didn't care about your potential, I wouldn't care so deeply about this topic. It seems like we are often our own worst enemies, especially when it comes to bad habits and self-sabotaging behaviors, also known as behavioral clutter. Typically, these negative habits and behaviors start as really small issues, but ultimately interfere, sometimes just a little, other times a whole lot, with our personal happiness, our success, our growth. So by definition, behavioral clutter is any action or habit or routine or practice that wastes a potential of a person's mind and body, spirit, and or resources. And unfortunately, behavioral clutter can be one of the most difficult types of clutter to purge from our lives. Why? 2 reasons. British literary genius Samuel Johnson once explained that the chains of habit are generally too small to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. Let that sink in for just a minute. We don't realize or excuse and tolerate behavior that we know is not optimizing our best life, and we offer up the infamous, I will start on Monday, only to quit on Wednesday, shrugging it off until Friday, and then beat ourselves up over the weekend with our tolerances or indifference during the week. Again, only to start over on Monday. Mondays turn into months, my friends. Months turn into years and decades, and we find ourselves not doing what we know, what we want. And we confirm that indeed we don't do what we know, rather who we are and how we show up. I spoke last week on mental and emotional clutter. And here is what I know for sure. If we have a lot of negative thoughts, we will no doubt have a lot of negative emotion. And this negative emotion, it tolerates behavioral clutter. It not only tolerates it, it encourages it. Mental and emotional clutter creates a massive amount of behavioral clutter in our life. So that's what I'm going to talk about with you today. So what does behavioral clutter look like anyway? I want you to think about behavioral clutter, and I want you to think about your habits, your routines, your rituals, your practices. I truly believe that you become what you continually do. And the best news ever is you can change your doing anytime by choosing who you are. Are any of you guilty of any of these common behavioral offenders? Okay, you ready? Again, no judgment. I just want you to check in with yourself. I just want to give you examples so you're like, oh my gosh, that's me. Or if it's not you, someone will immediately come to mind that you know it is them. So let's just say each morning you typically hit the snooze button over and over and over again, which causes you to start your day perhaps a little behind schedule, and you spend the rest of your day just trying to catch up. Not to mention possibly irritating your bedmate. It wastes your potential. All of this clutter, this whole Live Lighter series was created with your potential in mind, right? It affects your potential. It creates inefficiencies and has you scrambling the majority of your day. So the question is, what are you tolerating with regards to the productivity and the efficiency and the effectiveness of your day? Behavioral clutter number 2 that I see a lot of. Several times a week, you eat off plan. You know what you need to eat to optimize your body and your mind and your spirit, and yet you find yourself not packing your lunch. Maybe it's because you didn't have enough time because you slept in. You decide to not eat the lunch that you packed to go out to lunch where you continue to eat off plan, saying, why start now? Right? You've already ruined it. You've already not ate the lunch that you prepared and brought for you. So what the heck? Why not? You tell yourself you're not going to eat after 8 to optimize your sleep. And instead of going to bed because you're tired, you decide to eat to stay up to watch one more episode of your favorite Netflix series. Friends, the reason I know these so well is because I'm guilty of all of these. But here's the thing. Awareness is the key to shifting out of these behaviors. And instead of them becoming part of your daily routine, your mindfulness of them would have you tolerating maybe 20% of the time rather than 80 to 100% of the time. So I told you I was going to bring you some tough love today. I want you to really check in with yourself. What are you tolerating with regards to your nutrition? What are you tolerating with regards to your sleep? What are you tolerating with regards to your well-being? Here's another example of where I see behavioral clutter show up all the time. You know you should work out. You know you should do it. It's even on your planner. It's even in your planner, and yet you see it on there and you just dismiss it as if it doesn't matter. And you dismiss it because you're too busy and there's not enough time to get it in. Even though it's blocked out on your calendar, something was made a better priority than that blocked off time. So many more things on your calendar to mark off, to check off. And working out is either not one of them, or it can be easily scratched off and replaced with 1,000 other things that you think are so important. And so you remind yourself in the process of doing that, that work is important and it matters. And it does, but at what cost? I would challenge you, if you were honest, the cost would be your own self mattering. Another behavioral clutter that I see, you have committed to something, whatever it is, reading, meditating, journaling, spending more quality time with your relationships, with your husband, with your girlfriends, with your family, whatever it is. And you know you quote unquote should do it, but you don't. You've blocked time, you have put it in your routine, and yet other things get in the way. Or nothing really gets in the way other than, as I mentioned before, the excuse to not do what you say you're going to do. Normally, we are aware of our less than great habits and behaviors. Whether or not we choose to admit to them, well, that's a completely different story altogether. But today, right now, I am going to ask you, to challenge you, to invite you to get real with what is real, to understand how you live day to day, what you do, what you don't do, what the best of you would do, what the worst of you does, not in judgment, but in awareness. When you know what you do that you wish you didn't do, then you get to choose. You can choose then to continue to tolerate the habits that aren't aligning with your best life. You can choose to hit the snooze. You can choose to reallocate your priorities and scratch that workout off. You can choose to not stay on plan with your nutrition, or you can choose a different path. The different path doesn't make you better, more worthy, or more lovable. I'm going to love you anyway. It is going to change your experiences, the way you live your life. It's going to change the level of fulfillment and connection and joy in it. And I want this for you, but I can't want it more. If you can, I would love for you to pull out your journal. And if you don't have one, could you find one, purchase one, borrow one, maybe label it as your becoming journey? Because I'm always going to ask these questions. I'm always going to invite you to look at your life with some curiosity and bring some intentionality into it. And you maybe could use this journal as you listen to these podcasts and to note ideas and insights and answers to better inform your becoming journey. So the first question I want you to think about is, I want you to list all of your bad habits of which you are fully aware. Now, so many of us think about habits as acts of doing, right, that move us closer to our goals. And while yes, those are technically habits, right, and habits that we want to keep, there are also habits that make it harder for us to achieve our goal. I want you to note all of them. I want you to note the ones that you want to keep, and I want you to note the ones that you want to start, and I want you to note the ones that you want to stop. Maybe in the stopping, it's staying up too late. Maybe it's eating past 8. Maybe it's shopping or scrolling or swiping too much. Maybe it's not planning your weeks. Maybe it's not planning your workouts or your meditation or your nutrition or your hydration. Or maybe you are planning them, you're just not following through. And that's a podcast for another day. Think about how your life would change if you followed through on what you said you were going to do. That's going to be an exciting podcast. And again, we're looking at all of this lovingly, no judgment. I just want you to have an open and honest conversation around why you don't have the results that you want. And I promise you, it's because of some behavioral clutter that is taking up precious time, precious space, precious resources for you to not do what you say you're going to do. I promise you, it's because there is a tolerance, there's an excuse for what you know that is not in alignment with who you are and who you want to become and the results that you want for your life. We are not problem solving these behaviors, these habits. We are just writing them down. We are also not committing to them. We are just writing them down. So maybe you feel like you should get to bed earlier and forgo watching that last episode. Okay, just note it. Noting it doesn't mean that you have to not watch that last episode. It just means that we are now aware that it might have an impact on our sleep. It might impact our calorie intake. It might impact our desire to hit snooze again and again and again, affecting our entire day. And even still, you might choose to keep that habit. I'm not a habit cop. I just want you to choose your habits on purpose versus having your behaviors dictate the actions that you do unbeknownst to you. I want you to like your reasons, is what I'm saying. I want you to choose on purpose that, yes, I am going to eat off plan. Yes, I'm going to miss my workout. Yes, I'm going to stay up another hour to get one more episode in. Okay, next question. Whether or not you believe them to be true, I want you to list all of the habits that other people perhaps have complained about or mentioned to you. Maybe they suggest that you are always late. Maybe they suggest that you don't follow through on what you say. Maybe they say that you always have to be right. Maybe they say that you're always in a rush, that you are messy, that you are disorganized, that you eat out a lot, that you are distracted, that you are negative, that you spend too much time on Facebook or social media, that you spend too much time on your phone, that you don't take ownership of your mistakes, that you lie, that you yell too much, that you are dramatic, that you eat too fast, that you don't wash your makeup off at night, that you drink too much pop, that you shop too much, that you work too much. If you have not asked anyone close to you what they think your quote unquote bad habits are, it's eye-opening. I challenge you, I invite you, ask one person this weekend, hey, what is it that you think that I do really, really well? What are some of the good habits, routines, practices, rituals that I do that you see in me? And what are those habits, routines, and rituals that maybe I don't do, that I could get better at, that I could use to improve my life and to optimize my potential in it? I love the feedback that asking these questions provides. Now, you may very well not agree with them, but the perspective of others tells you a lot about both your tendencies and theirs. I often like to consider that they are right about the feedback and see how I might be able to better the bad. Question number 3 that I want you to think about, reflect on, journal. I want you to think about your normal day. Do any of your standard actions or routines waste the potential of your time and your mind and your body? These bad habits waste your potential, okay? I'm going to rattle them off, and maybe you don't write them all down, but maybe you write the ones that when I say it, you're like, oh, that's me. That's me. I can work on that this month for the rest of the month. You guys, June 15th. I love, as you know, the middle of a month because it allows me to really reflect on my month and how I want to end the month. But June 15th marked the middle of the year. I want you to think about where you are with regards to the goals that you have set, where you are with regards to the resolutions or the intentions or your vision board or your battle board or whatever you do and use to keep you on top of that with what you want for your life. And with those goals in mind, with those results in mind, I want you to think about these 10 things that I'm going to offer you and be like, you know what? That might be the reason why I haven't made better progress on that goal, on that result that I want in my life. And just note it. And that's the work that we can do together for the rest of the year so that you can get there and you can finish this year strong. Okay, you ready? Number 1. Procrastination and indecision. So much time and effort is wasted in putting off something that could have been done right then and there. And doubt stems from not trusting you. And that is why you are such an important piece of the success equation. How many times have you had your workout in your plan and you just chose not to work out? And it was because, one, you procrastinated with it, which is why I like to get mine done first thing in the morning, because then I don't have a lot of excuses that come up. And two, if you don't know what you're going to do, then you're like, well, do I go to the gym? Do I work out at home? What am I going to wear? Do I take a class? Do I want to drive there? Do I take a walk? It's kind of windy. It's kind of rainy. It's too hot. It's too cold. You see all of this indecision. And that's not just in working out. If you don't have a plan for, I'm watching one episode of Netflix, it becomes 2 or 3. If you don't have a plan of not eating past 8:30 runs around and you're like, maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Okay. Procrastination and indecision. Number 2, social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, these habits, these are the virtual clutter that I spoke about a couple of weeks ago. They fall under behavioral clutter as well, because these are behaviors that we do kind of unknowingly, unconsciously. So much time is saved if you block your social media time. But so many of us unconsciously start scrolling and swiping and commenting, right? And then before we know it, an hour or more goes by. Number 3, forgetting to plan. Is this affecting your results? Do you have a plan for your results? Do you have your goal, and do you have it prioritized and tasked out? Do you have a plan for it? They do say forgetting to plan is planning to fail. And I buy into that at large. If you want to live a life that matters, planning your life needs to matter. Number 4, not asking for help, doing it all yourself. Friends, oh my goodness, this is me. This is me. I think it's just easier to just do it myself than to teach someone else to, or to trust anybody else will do it as good as I will do it. And then you will inevitably have to do it over again anyway. These are stories that I tell myself that aren't necessarily facts at all. And so I end up just doing it all and being resentful that I've got no support. I've got no support because of me, because I didn't ask for it for no other reason than myself. Number 5, saying yes to too much. This is for all of my people pleasers out there. I know this one too well. If we have blocked time, allocated tasks accordingly, and we have no room for our life and our self-care, we have said yes to too much, or we haven't delegated. That is the not asking for support. Okay. So you know that you're saying yes to too much. If you've done all of the productivity hacks, if you've blocked out your schedule and you have a plan, and yet there's still no time for your life. Number 6, and I kind of alluded to that in number 4, non-delegation. We take on too much stuff. We don't delegate anything, and then we get mad that nobody is helping. It's because we didn't ask for help. We didn't delegate tasks that would be better off in the hands of someone else, or at least not the best use of time for you. We don't delegate because we think we could do it better. And although that might be true, it's costing us a lot. Number 7, we're doing other people's work. I know we all do it, but I want you to like your reason. If it's rooted in the P's, right, then please listen. If you are people pleasing, if it's to do it perfectly, if it's to placate, to avoid conversations, then take note that you are not doing it for anyone favors, right? I want you to recognize that. Number 8, not having boundaries. I think we forget sometimes that boundaries are for us and for what is important to us and for what matters and for what we values. And boundaries are not just in saying no. Boundaries about what you're willing to tolerate with others and yourself. Number 9, disorganization. This is another reason why clutter clutters your life. It creates a ton of disorganization. More clutter requires more organization, and you become more organized with less stuff to organize. And lastly, number 10, all of the clutter. And I've been talking about clutter all this month. Physical, mental, emotional, temporal, virtual, and behavioral. All that clutter wastes the potential for your best life. I truly believe that under every single struggle, every stuck state, every possibility, every potential is clutter. To live the best life we can, it's imperative to clean it up. Friends, I hope that this Live Lighter series gave you some insights and some ideas on how to free it up so that you can live into the possibilities of your potential. If you liked this episode, would you do me a huge favor? Would you just share it with some of your very favorite people and ask them to do the same? Have an incredible, amazing weekend, everyone. Live lighter, become unstoppable. I will see you next week and take care. Bye. You have been listening to the Becoming You show with me, your host, Leah Roling, where I share big ideas to inspire, impact, and influence your life. Tune in every Friday at 11 Central on transformationtalkradio.com for your morning cup of coffee, the hug you never want to end, and that inspirational message that you felt was written just for you. Each show is inspiring you to become you with purpose and intention. For more information or to connect with me, visit www.leahroling.com.